estimate on it?
I do not.
Okay.
I was just told it would.
Throw out a ballpark?
I have no
Nothing?
idea. Not a mechanic.
Me either. Got nothing either. Okay.
That being said, it seems to be doing pretty well. The truck does. I'd like to thank all the members and people of the community that showed up and helped with food and water and supplies. Those were pretty daunting days for us all. We didn't transport a couple of people, unfortunately, but...
And one of our firefighters with so one of ours and one from somewhere else.
Was it Westminster?
Can't remember. Yeah.
Westminster.
Oh, yeah.
So that went well without a hitch. I'm going to we have a meeting tomorrow night, which will be a fun-filled meeting, that we've got new computer requirements from the state of New Hampshire again, because a 3-page document on the computer for each call is not enough. It will be going to 5 pages.
Progress.
And it will be completely reformatted, and it'll be nothing anybody's ever seen. So the system that's been in place for years, everybody has to relearn a completely new system.
So you guys doing a demo of it, or is this a training session?
Tomorrow will be a training session that Ackworth, Langdon, and any other stragglers from the area that need to attend it, because you need to attend it before June 1st when it rolls out, so you know how to use it. So this is a statutory requirement of the state of New Hampshire.
Do we have an estimate of how many lives this new paperwork is going to save? Thank you.
Yes. One of the great advantages, however, will be it's with a different software vendor, and it doesn't have to be online all the time. So it will change a required computer that we'll need to get in the future.
So you won't have a requirement for constant internet access?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And was that was the way it was leaning? So you guys would have to maintain a data
Correct.
connection in the ambulance?
Correct. And they found throughout that didn't work as well, so the Fieldbridge version basically
do it offline, and when you
do it offline, connects, it downloads.
Gotcha.
And when it downloads, it goes to the state for important life-saving statistics, and it goes to our billing provider to send the bills. I've been told a lot of the additional required information is more to do with billing than statistics management, with the new changes in the Affordable Care Act and as far as documentation. So that's where a lot of that comes from, my thoughts exactly. So that will be a fun-filled night on Wednesday. I also am going to start looking and getting quotes on a UTV, just for the future. I think the fires proved that that was a very important piece of equipment that the town should have.
So a lot of them show up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And all the ones that showed up were set up wonderfully for firefighting and not so wonderfully for EMS.
Gotcha.
So I'm just going to throw that out there, look around, see what comes back.
We've talked about in the past your these trusts that may be available to you.
Correct. Correct. And
do we have a number? I think it's been mentioned in here before. I can't remember who donated money towards the ambulance.
And we do have, yes, Barbara Jerry did.
Thank you.
And I believe last I saw the balance, it was 12 to $13,000.
Just curious.
And that would certainly, come into play. I think that would be an important thing. It would probably need some matching money and approval of the membership and the town and
Possibly a warrant. Yeah.
just looking forward, I just think maybe that's something we should look at.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I want one and need to have one because we have that whole defibrillator thing and
There's priorities.
and a new ambulance, but I do feel like down the road, I think my suggestion and what I would feel good about is each department buying their own skid unit and having a municipally owned UTV and
Each do double duty.
it could do triple duty, the fire department, the ambulance, the police department, highway department. Just have it set up for all town agencies and then have our own skid unit that slides in the back of it when we need to use it. I certainly don't know that the town would need more than one. I think that's foolishness.
Yeah. Well, I think with all these things, I mean, I think we're going to be looking to you to come up with a list of these higher dollar amounts. Some of it is replacing existing and.
Absolutely, and that's why I would like to figure out a capital reserve for other than a vehicle, because I think every department has capital that's very expensive and not a vehicle. Our defibrillator costs more than the police car.
We can talk about that.
So, I would like to see that, the capital reserve put for that. We have to solve the cardiac monitor issue this year, but going forward, we're going to need a new one someday.
Yep.
So sitting here thinking that there's basically a plethora of ATVs and UTVs in the area, couldn't they just coordinate with some of these people? We can use them on the rare occasions that they really do need them.
There's mutual aid would certainly provide them, and when the call went out saying we needed off-road vehicles on 12A, then everybody showed up. A lot of them showed up with them.
Absolutely.
So there is that. The question is there such a need that we need to outside of it, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
Yeah. Believe me, I'm not endorsing it one way or the other. I think it's a long ways away from us.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, moving in the future, that may be, an asset that would be handy for the town to have. And we do have a lot of them in the area, not any neighboring towns have one.
Yeah.
So it needs to come from Leominster, Westminster.
Westmoreland.
Kind of available.
Correct. So, if we had a critical, time-sensitive emergency that we needed to get somebody out of the woods quickly, that's not going to happen.
They weren't the first thing to show up, for sure, when we had the fires on our road.
No, they actually put out a specific call for them after they had fought it for a while and said, if you got them, bring them.
Right. So that would be my thought is in that case, it was okay, but if you were to need one in a hurry, you're not going to get one in a hurry.
Yeah, so I guess where I would be on this is certainly without endorsing it, certainly without approving money for it or anything like that, which we can't do right now. I have no issue with him going ahead and probably talking to other department heads and see if they feel that that's.
I'd still like them to inventory the area and know who has what they need, because you can, one phone call, you can get somebody local.
So mutual aid maintains that now.
Absolutely.
Correct? but can we get a copy of that? Even if you were to go forward with it, it would be good for us and for the voters and everybody else to say, okay, we know these are around, but the closest one that could respond is 20 minutes away. And if it were life and death in the middle of the woods, then it might make a difference. You know what I'm saying?
I've also,
No.
I've also,
I agree with
It's hypothetical.
Yeah.
I've also taken the approach of kind of glanced quickly at used units. I think with something that's used that infrequently, a used unit's less than half the price of a new unit.
I think what Tim's trying to get across is, I think we'd like to be convinced first of need.
Oh,
And that has to do with, to your point, how many are in the area.
and
Historically, how many situations may have come up that these things may have made a difference? That's sort of a tough one to do, but, you know, you've got some institutional memory there. Maybe you can think back to a few that could have benefited by this. But we're a long way off.
oh,
I do
absolutely,
appreciate that creative thinking.
absolutely, and I'm thinking of this a long way off. We certainly have things that are much more important, but
I think you need to develop some sort of a telephone network, and then if that didn't work, or if you were overwhelmed and couldn't, and they, the public can't supply it for you, then you start looking at getting something for yourself.
Yeah. So you're proposing like completely outside of mutual aid completely, yeah. How about call your neighbor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find out who's got what you need in the neighborhood and in the area, and get their telephone numbers and talk to them, ask them. If we call you in an emergency, would you be interested in letting us use your UTV? And there are quite a few of them around.
oh, absolutely, there is.
I can remember the one on 12/8 fire there, they called, I think it was, at one point they called for four different towns for their four-wheel drive.
Oh yeah, they're out there.
Yeah.
Keene, Westminster, and Munster are the closest ones.
Well, I thought I saw Westchester. Who had the like snow set up?
Both, I think
With the tracks and
the Chesterfields have one. I
That's-
think both of the Chesterfields and Spofford have
Yeah.
one.
yeah.
A trap type thing.
Track and then a
Argo.
and then like a toboggan or whatever you want to call it, like the trailer on skis.
Yeah.
It's like it's April.
You're just talking about other agencies though, at one point in
No,
time? Are you talking about private citizens or?
If he knows what's in the area, and in most cases, for instance, I've got an ATV, I would gladly let somebody
Okay,
take it.
I was confused because I was like, that all gets done through dispatch.
There's no reason for the town to go out and buy something they're gonna use once or twice a year, maybe,
Oh, yeah.
on the assumption that it might save a few minutes.
Right.
Agreed.
What about our snowmobile club?
Yeah.
What do they have?
Yeah.
Good one, yeah.
And actually, I mean, this is just sort of a citizens auxiliary type of idea that could probably apply to fire. It could apply to
Network.
ambulance.
Absolutely.
Good.
And actually, I think what would be super helpful, and the people that assisted us off of Facebook was fantastic. I kind of wish we had a town-wide notification.
Well, that's a subject that we're sort of working on. And I'll have something for that this week.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Not related directly, but it could certainly be part of this.
Absolutely, that would quell the issue if we could go forward with all sorts of assets. That way, I totally agree that if we knew that there was 8 of them in town with people that would come if we asked for them,
I'd be okay with somebody else driving them.
that would be fantastic. I agree we wouldn't need to buy one. But to call one out of mutual aid,
Yeah.
it's gonna have a reasonably long response
Yeah.
time. So, we can look forward to that. Now, look, I will speak with you on your notification system.
No, it's a little more than that, and a little less than that, but it's just, trying to see if there are some people interested in volunteering to take part in emergency services, emergency planning. And part of that could definitely be that.
That would be,
I could move ahead much more quickly.
that would be fantastic. So, other than all the fires, we've been relatively slow in the ambulance business as far as non-fire related calls. Good, very slow. Everybody's staying healthy. That's fantastic.
Good enough.
All is well.
Thank you.
And we will see you next month. And we'll have all sorts of more fun things.
Hopefully not.
Yeah,
Or
hopefully
hopefully
not.
nothing.
You can leave the expensive ideas at home, just for 1 month. Just come in and say, I don't really need to spend it, just for 1 month, and then bring it all up the next.
Oh, okay.
Hold on one second.
All right.
I have a question on the cane. How do we know who's the right person to tell?
I don't know that.
Who tells us that?
Okay. So this was asked to be brought up in a public meeting, so we'll bring it up in a public meeting. Stella Winham is the oldest person in Alstead. And this is from Linda. Should be presented to King by the selectmen at the friendly meals. She is 95 this coming week. Her daughter would like to tell her that she will be receiving the Boston cane soon. And then she goes on to ask that perhaps one of the selectmen could go down there and present it to her.
At the friendly meals.
At friendly meals. Goes on to say that some towns have lost their Boston canes by letting the recipients keep it. Suggestion was made that we look into something that resembles the cane so that while the town would retain ours, they could have something to take with them. So
Sometimes do certificates.
something like that, I think they're all worth looking into. So this coming week, I certainly have no issues with presenting. How do they know she's the oldest person?
That's the only thing. The problem is, if you present it to someone who is not the oldest person, you've got a problem.
We hope the government doesn't help that.
You have a cane fight out
A
there.
cane fight, yeah.
Yeah, you better have more than one.
Well, I don't know. I don't know who tells us this.
You give them each a cane, and whoever comes out.
A notice should go out, because I know it usually comes through Mary Lou and that group, because there may be somebody older that nobody realizes, you know?
Yeah. I have no idea how you would.
Well, Elsa had it before, right?
Yes,
I think Elsa Blind had it.
and that was pretty, she was 100.
Is this some sort of a special design cane?
Yeah, the Boston cane.
Oh, thanks.
So perhaps someone would like to give us a little background on the Boston cane.
It's supposed to be up on the wall in a case.
Yeah, the Boston Post cane was presented by some newspaper from Boston.
I bet it was the Boston Post.
Could have been. And to the oldest resident, and it's something that was sort of traditional in New Hampshire, and a lot of,
Every
other
town.
towns have them,
Every town.
and other towns do them. And a lot of them have lost we actually have the original cane, but a lot of the towns have lost them, and that's why they give a certificate, and why there should be a replica now, but this was, I don't know when it was started, but that's what I've heard about it. It was started
And usually they give them a certificate and take a picture with them holding the cane.
I
with
like
them
that.
holding
And
the
then the
cane.
cane gets
Yeah.
taken out of their hands and is supposed to put in a glass case on the wall that.
Where's our cane?
Where is it? Can we see?
It's in the office. I'm
that has
told.
to be out.
Under lock and key.
How
No.
about,
Well, she doesn't get the
No.
cane, Barbara, and that's the
well,
problem.
the certificate.
Yeah,
It's a certificate because it's hard to get it from the
No, it's someone who,
family.
no, because she's the oldest resident at the time. I don't think
she
it's
can
someone-
relinquish her
She's been around for a
title
long
in
time.
one of two ways.
Still deserves it.
Yeah, she's been a resident for how long?
Yeah.
She's,
Okay.
Maybe we could get a local artisan to make a, replicate.
Sounds like something,
Wood carver perhaps up at Kemptrap Farms.
I think of one.
I think there's a link for ours.
And the cane needs to be up on the
Oh,
wall,
Matt.
like it was decided years ago in a case.
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I think barring anything else, I think you and I are in agreement that doing a presentation with the cane, taking some pictures with the cane,
Yeah.
giving her a certificate.
I don't know that we do certificate. Does anybody know that?
Certificate, and then usually flowers or something.
Also, they do,
It's a big deal.
She wants
And
flowers
generally the
now.
paper comes.
Yeah.
It's
usually
not
you
only a
don't
big
need
deal.
to.
but people have actually been known to live to get it.
No, she needs
Even if for,
5 years from now.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I think maybe we can email with Linda and discuss this. Are you in agreement that we will
Yeah.
do something that will not involve relinquishing control of the
I
cane?
just want to know who knows who's the oldest person in town. I want validation.
That is a.
Might need to do some sort of due diligence, like you notice, all her entries or something. I don't know.
usually the people themselves know. I think
They do.
Yeah.
They
Because there's a Boston
If they want that Boston cane, they'll call.
Yeah.
All you have to do is ask anybody over 80 and they'll tell you.
Who's gonna send
She
that letter out?
usually is the one that says.
Yeah, I think, I'm fine trusting the
Oh, I do
institutional
too.
knowledge, but.
I just
Okay.
don't want problems.
Right. There goes Tim getting chased by a cane down the road. Quite the sight. All right. Boston cane. Transfer station subcommittee. So I did find my notes, and they need to be cleaned up a little bit. Bear with me. All right, what we had discussed and agreed upon was transfer station committee. 1, form a committee to look at the current transfer station operations, organization, cash flow, and other finances. 2, to investigate alternatives to our current operations that will reduce overall costs of the transfer station services to the taxpayer. That's our goal. 3, present the following findings to the select board. A report on current transfer station operations. B, a report on alternatives that meet number 2, which is come up with something that can save money. C, provide recommendations to the select board that may be 1, the status quo, 2, improvements in organization, operations, or other related areas that fundamentally maintain the status quo, or 3, an alternative method that meets number 2, save money. I've got some typos I've got to correct in that, but that's what we discussed. Okay. Then I will pass that on to the,
Get them started.
get them started.
They're anxious to get going.
Fair enough.
The AABC is the one,
Yes.
in case anyone was
Mm-hmm.
wondering.
AABC.
Well, I think they wanted to know did they want to know who was gonna kind of be from each department?
Well, they were waiting on the guidelines, and then they wanted also that, if you know, because someone said there'd be someone from the select office, and
Yeah, you didn't go to the last, did you go to all of them?
I tried
been to any
all
of
of them.
Oh,
Now
Well, you weren't at the last
I think they,
I missed my,
They were
probably
waiting
that's the
for you.
second time I've missed one.
You guys should do a rotating.
That's a great idea, Barbara. All in favor?
It didn't pass, did it?
Brock seems to have little interest in attending those, and I sort of attend all of them I can. So, I will pass that back on to them in an email. I did have something come up that I couldn't get out of. And that happens.
How was the
That corner.
chip or whatever you call that thing working? The dump fee when you go
over the square.
square?
I don't know. I haven't been to the transfer station.
Well, I've been, but I don't put anything in the CD, so.
Yeah.
I think I owe a couple bucks, I should go check it out.
I haven't heard a lot of feedback.
I haven't heard any. So, that's a good one. Gotta catch up on my minute taking. It'll be the briefest minutes you have ever seen. All right. I know one other thing they were looking for was, I mean, who is running it? To me, it's a committee that was sort of sanctioned by the selectmen to get together. It'll be attended by a selectman, but I'm not really into micromanaging how often they're going to meet and what they're going to do and their makeup. I think we can agree that we don't want it to be huge. We don't want 50 people on there.
How many people do we want?
We can talk about that. There's a lot of things, there are a number of people on the AABC that are interested.
There's quite a few people that are interested in the transfer station.
Yes. So,
Glenn wanted to be there.
I think you could probably see 4 or 6 people out of the AABC.
Yeah.
One being Glenn.
Do you have objections to it if it's more? Do you think it would be not as effective?
I think you're gonna hit some point where it becomes non-effective, but, I'm not sure
But at the other side of that is I don't want to let somebody who really wants to be on it out either.
Right. The other thing that's not included in there is a timeline. So, I'm all in favor of something like 90 days or 120 days. I don't want to say, get back to us in a month, realizing there's a lot of things to look into. But I also don't want to give them till whenever.
How long does it take to look at the top?
I think they can do it in the 90 days because in the fall you're going to be coming up on a lot of budgety.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah,
think.
and they'll want that done by then
Yeah,
too.
so May, June, July, August. Yeah, actually, 90 days would be kind of.
And if they're done earlier, they're done earlier.
Yeah.
They're anxious to get started.
They really are.
Alright.
It's amazing.
So let's say 90 days if that works for you. And do we want to put a cap on membership? Not more than 12, something like that? Not more than 10?
Well, let them decide.
Let them decide?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, we don't want to micromanage it. Just get it done and get it done quick.
Save us some money. All right, fair enough. I think that's all we need on that. The Lake Warren grant stuff, there was an email that came to me and
I know, I got it too.
you got to, just saying, do we proceed? I said, we talk about it here. Tim pointed out accurately that we've already talked about
Yeah.
this and there should be no reason why we couldn't, but I was reluctant.
I thought